told some people that Democratic politicians had proposed the policy that they just read about, and we told other people that Republican politicians had proposed the policy that they just read about. Among the Democrats in our sample, they supported the policy significantly more when they believed that Democratic politicians had proposed a policy than when they believed that Republican politicians had proposed a policy. Republicans were essentially the reverse of Democrats. Republicans supported the climate policy significantly more when they believed that Republican politicians had proposed a policy than when they believed that the Democratic politicians had proposed a policy.
I think this is driven by politicians that want more control over our lives.
And that some are putting out there, including scientists, that somehow there are actions we can take today that would actually have an impact on what's happening in our climate. Our climate is always changing.
For example, there are other countries that are polluting in the atmosphere much greater than we are at this point. China, India, all these countries that are still growing, and they're not going to stop doing what they're doing. America's a country, it's not a planet. So we can pass a bunch of laws or executive orders that will do nothing to change the climate or the weather, but will devastate our economy.
I would point out that if you're a believer in the Bible, one would have to say the Great Flood is an example of climate change.
It's not a crisis. The climate's been changing forever, and it will always change.
53% of our electricity comes from nuclear. We use natural gas. We use solar power. We're the third highest using solar power state. You know why? Because we made all of those things economically feasible. I agree with Marco. We shouldn't be destroying our economy in order to chase some wild left-wing idea that somehow us by ourselves is going to fix the climate.
Well, first of all, I'm not a believer in global warming. I'm not a believer in man-made global warming. It could be warming and it's going to start to cool at some point.
Is it correct that the satellite data over the last 18 years demonstrate no significant warming?
No, the rate of increase has been lower, and it's not unexplained. There's a natural Pacific decadal oscillation, and the Pacific tropical temperature has not warmed during that period, and that's affected the global temperature.
We keep hearing that 2014 has been the warmest year on record. I asked the chair, you know what this is? It's a snowball, and that's just from outside here. So it's very, very cold out, very unseasonal. So here, Mr. President, catch this.
I'm skeptical of the decisions that the left wants us to make, because I know the impact those are going to have, and they're all going to be on our economy. They will not do a thing to lower the rise of the sea. They will not do a thing to cure the drought here in California. But what they will do is they will make America a more expensive place to create jobs.
There's that Gallup poll that came out last month, which found 1 in 4 Americans is skeptical of all the effects of climate change and thinks this issue's been exaggerated.
Who gives a That doesn't matter. You don't need people's opinions on a fact. You might as well have a poll asking which number is bigger, 15 or 5. Or do owls exist? Or are there hats? The debate on climate change should not be whether or not it exists, it's what we should do about it. There is a mountain of research on this topic. Global temperatures are rising, heat waves are becoming more common, sea surface temperatures are also rising, glaciers are melting, and of course no climate report is complete without the obligatory photo of a polar bear balancing on a piece of ice.
Tackling climate change in Paris with other world leaders, what was happening back here in the U.S. regarding arguably the most pressing issue of our time?
Well, listen, I'm not qualified to debate the science over climate change.
I don't know the science behind climate change.
I'm not a scientist. All I can tell you is...
Let the scientists decide that. Politicians don't need to be deciding that.
I'm not a scientist.
Now, I'm not a scientist, but I'm an optometrist.